Well, happy to see you here in this event. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christina, and I'm part of the Ecom Connect community, the Ecom Connect team. And I'm very happy today to have Tofara and Loveness with us. Both of them were digital champions last year for a competition that ITC was doing with the World Trade Organization and also the Chamber of Commerce and Google and Zoom. And they won for a proposal where they were using digital marketing to promote international trade and really help SMEs sell online. So both of them have a lot of expertise in the digital marketing field. I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit. And they're going to do a great session. And this is just one of the 3 sessions that we are going to do about digital marketing. So please participate as much as possible, share your comments, questions, whenever you need that in the chat. We will also ask you to unmute yourself and participate in some questions, maybe also breakout rooms, will depend on the number of people we are in the end today. And then, yeah, I encourage you to join the other sessions where we will discuss as well about website optimization and about other digital marketing techniques. So hello to Tofara and Loveness. I'm happy to give you the floor and introduce yourself a bit, and then we'll dive deep into the topic of today's session.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. We are so excited to be here this afternoon, and I'm so excited about where people are connecting from. I'm seeing Nigeria, Greece, I'm seeing Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, I'm seeing Kenya, and this is how the world has really transformed. It has become borderless. It's like we are in one world, and today we are so excited to be talking to you guys of SMEs. So just to introduce myself before I hand over to Loveness, who's going to take us through the first part of the presentation. My name is Tofara. I am the founder of Tofara Online, a digital marketing and innovation consulting trust. I'm so passionate about empowering women, empowering girls, empowering SMEs with digital marketing and innovation skills, which are relevant for today's world, and also which enables us to participate in the global economy. I am a retired, I can say.
Retired?
I deviated my career from IT engineering to digital marketing, and that was after working for about 13 years, and now I'm into digital marketing consultancy full-time. And I think during the presentation, definitely I'll be sharing more about us, but like what Chris has said, our organization, in partnership with Loveness, last year we were given this prestigious award, which we really cherish up until now, where the recognition of our work in Africa, we are based in Zimbabwe, of just empowering people to adopt digital marketing is really, it was actually seen to be one of the best things that we are doing to empower people. So I'll hand over to Loveness, and most probably after your introduction, I'll share the screen for the presentation.
Thank you so much, Chris, and hello to everybody who's joining us from all over the world. And I can't get used to these meetings where we have many countries being represented. I mean, the joys of tech right now. So my name, as previously mentioned, is Loveness and I'm a digital strategist and technopreneur. I run a digital marketing agency. I'm a director there, and recently also have gotten into the trust field and have a trust called Tech for Good Zim. So I work with businesses, brands, individuals, and organizations for them to maximize tech, the internet, and digital skills, either for career growth, business growth, or income growth. And I'm passionate about using tech for good. I'm passionate about creating transformation in people's lives, empowering them so that they can, you don't let tech take away the quality of life, but let it add benefit from it, maximize it, so that you can even survive crisis like COVID, where we had small businesses closing and not opening up again. We had, people losing their livelihoods, and it was pretty stressful, besides the loss of lives. So this has just, fueled the fire for me. And, I'm always going to be that evangelist that continuously encourages people to say, adopt digital skills, embrace digital marketing, and get into international trade.
Great. So, well, I mean, I think at this point, we are sure that you really know about the topic. You have personal experience, which is really, really good. And I think all the entrepreneurs here will be very inspired by you, because it's really, techniques that you've implemented, things that you've tried that worked or didn't work, and things that you have learned through the way. So let's start with the practical stuff. I don't know if Tofara, you want to share? Yeah, perfect. Good. Great. Okay, so I'll let you speak.
Right. So today we want to start by talking about digitizing SMEs. We want to talk about transitioning from offline to online. So one of the most common thing before COVID came was that people had traditional businesses, and going online was optional. So here we're just here to demystify, to unpack, and share with you some of the ways you can digitize your SME. Please move on to the next slide. So transitioning your business from offline to online used to be optional, like what I said to you before, but it's now essential for survival. You just can't afford not to be online. Think about COVID and the movement restrictions. Think about the overheads people have saved by discovering and embracing hybrid working. So this means that if you are an organization or a business or a brand or professional that focused literally on the traditional paper office, that has changed. We believed that, at some point it was difficult for us to even imagine working from home, but that has since changed. Our environment has become fluid, and it is driven by the dynamic nature of tech. Right. So one thing that I didn't mention as I was introducing myself is that I am a former international NGO accountant that transitioned into digital marketing. I had 12 years experience, and I had to self-teach into digital marketing. And just having Tofara and I here, we are like living adverts of what is possible when you embrace tech. Anything becomes possible. And these are some of the benefits that we want to share with you. So can you move a little back, Tofara, before we move on? I think that's the last slide. That's the last slide. And one thing I want to encourage people is please talk to us, engage with us. If something pops out at you, talk to us. Tell us what has been your struggle when we talk about that transition from online to offline, right? So one of the basic things, and the one thing that I want to hammer is that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And, we now, what we used to watch on science fiction with people having bionic hands and, machines, talking to machines, moving machines, using our senses, like the eye-controlled gadgets, like your TVs and things like that. We used to think it was, far-fetched, and it's not going to happen in our lifetime. It seemed like, inconceivable. But in some countries, they have paperless. We have people with chips in their arms to make payments. We have avatars going to work. I mean, it's just mind-blowing what even artificial intelligence is doing now, where machines are teaching themselves, they're thinking, they're learning, and it's really, really crazy. So the truth is, and the underlying fact that if there's anything that you should take away before I move on, is that we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, just to break it down and, put a definition to it, was just saying that it represents a fundamental change in the way we live, in the way we walk, the work and relate to one another. Right. So the way we live, it has changed. It has changed. I mean, people sometimes, if you're not careful, you're going to see that people are always hunched over a device, even with whilst they're eating. When people are on holiday, they're taking selfies. They're, a lot more information is out there, what would have ordinarily or traditionally have been considered to be private. So that's also another indicator. The way we work. Before I would have had to fly to where Chris is for me to have this meeting. But here I am in Zimbabwe. I see her and she's lightly dressed and I'm heavily dressed. It just shows you that we're in two different worlds, but we're brought together by tech and the way we relate to one another, how we interact using tech, how we communicate with each other, how we collaborate, how we network. It's really crazy the way we can collaborate with people that are not in the same geographical location. It just shows you that the future is now. The tech is here, it's here to stay. So we're in this new chapter in the human development, enabled by extraordinary technology advances. If you were to try and keep up as a digital marketer, I can't keep up with the new software apps. I mean, if you just talk about social media on its own, I think I'd go crazy if I were to try and grasp and specialize on every social media network. So we now have people specializing in different things because of the way tech is advancing, right? Before, if you knew web development, that was enough for you to get by. But now we have search engine optimization experts. We have data analysts, we have, and it just shows you how advanced we're going. So this has been really interesting because when I'm not gonna. I'm 42 this year. I turned 42 this year. So when I was growing up, we had landlines. You had to tell someone, "Look, I'm gonna call you at 3 p.m. today. Please be there, be at home." But and then now, when I look at it, from the time we first saw the first cell phone to where we are now, I totally understand and can relate to the statement that says we are enabled by extraordinary technology advances. It has been so phenomenal, and whilst we can get familiar with the changes and everything, it cannot be ignored. So these advances are merging the physical, digital, and biological worlds. Like I mentioned to you before, in some countries, you walk out of the house without a wallet, you walk out of the house without a credit card or bank card. The chip is in your hands. We're now merging tech. When we talk about subjects like the Internet of Things, where we connect multiple objects, the biological objects, the technical objects, the physical objects, so that we have this ecosystem which enables us to have more information about what's going on and where it is. So Tofara, please go on to the next slide. So at this point in time, I'm going to hand over to Tofara to take us on, and as we get into detail about what has changed. What things that have changed?
Sorry, Loveness, I think we lost a bit of connection with you.
With me? Oh, okay,
yeah,
sorry.
No, it's good. No, it's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
So thank you, Loveness, for quite a detailed introduction. And I'm so excited that today we are talking about something that resonates with us as small to medium enterprises and most probably as individuals. And the good thing about everything that we are talking about today is nothing is going backward. We need to understand how the world has changed. And also we need to understand how we can actually adapt to the new kind of doing things, or to this new world, which is more of the digital side of the world. So far, in terms of education, I can give you examples of what happened, the initial stages of lockdown, where there was a total shutdown of everything, including schools, colleges, universities. And if we are to look at the preparedness of the shutdowns, no one was even prepared for that globally. Right. So you'll find that even the education sector was really affected. They had so many enrollments which were physical, and moving to the digital way of doing things was really tough because no one was prepared for such a disaster or a crisis. So the education sector these days has actually changed from focusing on the physical ways of delivering content or delivering our lessons to the online learning or the e-learning. So you'll find that if we are into these industries as SMEs and we do not adapt to the new ways of doing businesses, chances are very high that we are not going to make an impact in this world. I can actually also give you an example. For example, you have your own physical school, which can only accommodate maybe 200 people. But if you are to have an e-learning platform, it can accommodate 2 million people. These are just examples to show you that the education sector has really transitioned to the digital world. And the impact that we used to have, or we used to find like physically, has really changed because of this digital space. So we are saying that since we are small to medium enterprises, if there is anyone in this room who is into education, what is your focus as we are now operating in the digital world? Are you focusing on e-learning? Are you focusing on a digitalized way of learning? Are you focusing on making impact to a lot of people? As an organization, we actually made a huge impact using WhatsApp during lockdown. I know in some countries it will be like, how did that happen? Because, you know, during the lockdown sessions, people did not have any income. The internet charges were really on them. Why? Because they didn't have any income that was coming. Some people lost jobs. Some people, lost their revenue streams because everything that they were doing, it was physical. And as an organization, actually, opportunity. Sorry, if you are not muted, please do so.
Yes, I just muted someone, sorry. Thanks,
Right.
Tofara.
Thank you. So as an organization, we really saw a gap, and we really took that opportunity to tell people or to teach people online using the cheapest way, which is WhatsApp. So you'll find that things really transitioned from the physical ways of doing things to the to the digital way of doing things. And consumer buying behavior, if you have noticed, a lot of businesses were really focused on the walk-in customers. You have your own shop and you feel like if it is located somewhere where there is a lot of traffic in terms of people passing through it, you would then say, okay, I'm positioned strategically for people to come to my shop. And in terms of consumer buying behavior, you'll notice that from the offline, where people would feel the garments, people would look at the product and understand how it looks like physically. These days, things have changed. Everything is now digitized. We are now using the things that are on websites, the products that are on websites. Sometimes we don't have the feel of everything, but we can actually, give people a picture of the quality of products that we are selling online, and make sure that if one buys, they can actually receive their product and actually give a review on what they've bought. So consumer buying behavior has also changed. And we as our small businesses, we need to understand how consumer buying behaviors has really changed in our own line of businesses. Okay, let's look at buying and selling. So like I said, the example I've given where we had physical shops and waited for people to come along or to just pass through a busy, a busy shop or a busy pathway, and your shop is situated right there. But now you will notice that there is the upcoming of e-commerce, which is helping small to medium enterprises to trade internationally. The good thing is we have e-com Connect, which is actually centered on making sure that SMEs across the continent of Africa, across the world, have to learn how to come up with their e-commerce businesses. Why? Because this is where the world has gone. People these days, like Loveness is saying, they're no longer going out with their credit cards, or, they're just maybe doing their shopping online while at home. You go to an e-commerce shop, you buy your groceries, you buy your clothes there. And if you are a business person selling, people can actually visit your website and they can buy from there without even interacting with you. So if we are to look at the changes from the physical way of selling things to the digital way of selling things, we then need to understand that we now have to have the capacity to create these online platforms where people can come and buy our products. And the good part is, like I said, we're not looking at a very big market where we have a pool of millions of potential customers, but how we position ourselves definitely is what is going to affect ourselves. If we do not have any content to attract people, then there will be a problem. But if you come and understand the importance of having an e-commerce shop that has good customer experience, where people can buy their products from stage one until they deliver, they experience the great service from you, then you can actually conquer this world that we are living in. The fourth thing that has changed is the medical and health field. I believe that there's so much innovation around the health field, around the medical field. And yesterday I was just talking to Loveness, giving an example of one lady I met in Germany. She is into drone manufacturing. And what inspired her to manufacture drones was she was living in an area in Africa where at some point, if someone wanted to put some blood samples to a laboratory, they had to travel for about 8 hours in a car just to take a blood sample to a laboratory. Then she then said, you know what, in those 8 hours, someone is dying. And there should be a way of making sure that all these processes are digitized and people actually get the best medical service in the shortest possible time. So she developed her own drone, and that drone travels a distance that took 8 hours, and now it travels to and from in 1 hour to get a blood sample from a remote clinic to the laboratory, and the results are given in less than 2 hours. And she was actually looking at other ways of even making it faster. So you'll find that if you are in the medical field or in the health field and you don't incorporate technology and the problems that are there, in terms of the physical ways of doing things, chances are very high that you can actually be left out. I can give you another example in the medical field where one doctor actually identified that the physical pregnancy examination is leading to a lot of loss of lives when women are delivering. Why? Because they cannot detect any abnormality with pregnancies, right? So you will find that this young doctor, he's based in Africa, he developed his small mobile scan where he said, scanning a pregnant woman should just cost $2. And she has put this technology in remote areas so anyone can now afford to go for a scan. And from there, they can now detect any abnormalities and the death rates of women giving birth has actually gone down. Why? Because we have moved from, the physical way of doing things to the digitalized way, or to the adoption of technology, right? So the other thing that has changed is the lifestyle. Yes, where we depended on physical ways of, showcasing our lifestyles, the digital way is now there. Look, if you go on Instagram right now, you'll find that people, they've really moved from, the showcasing of their products or their lifestyles physically, but now they are using the digital side of things. Okay, now let's.
Tofara, one thing, because I think it has to do what you mentioned just with a comment by Diodati. And Diodati, if you want to unmute yourself, that would be great, because well, she's talking about checking the quality, when you are selling an item online, like how do you really test that it meets the quality standards? But Diodati, do you have any experience in this, or any solution that you've looked into?
I think what she has said is very valid, and this is one thing that we really need to look at. So what you actually have to do is when you create your your e-commerce website, you have to have what are called policies, and that should include the return policy. If someone is not happy with your product, they should be able to refund you, or to change and give you the good quality that you want. So even if when you are shopping and you before you even click the pay button, you need to understand the policies of the organization, and also you need to review the things that if someone has purchased, they should be reviews to show whether the other clients were happy or not. And before you pay, you have to, read through and see whether this is good quality or not. So sometimes, yes, there are people who are really dubious when it comes to selling online. They sell a fake product, yet they're advertising an original product. But we have to conduct our due diligence before paying, look at the policies and the return policies, and also look at the reviews that other customers have. Okay. Then other areas that have changed are the architecture and sports. Definitely, thank you, Bernard, for that. Definitely everything has really digitized in terms of architecture and sports. And I think in the last example that we have here, the manufacturing industry has really changed. And you'll find that even in the car industry, robots are now making cars. There is a line of robots from stage 1 to stage Z with a very little human interaction. So this is how the world has changed. So as SMEs, we also need to adapt to this change and just make sure that we are not left in the physical ways of doing things. All right. I think I'll hand over to Loveness. I'm not sure if there is any other comment that
there is one comment that was made before, which I found really interesting, from Curtis. So, well, he says that in the end, the major problem when moving from offline to online is a number of things to cover, right? Because you need to then be a mini expert in marketing, finance, graphic design. He mentions a few of these items. So, and at the same time, keeping up with the latest technologies, having the capacity to solve this. So do you have, Tofara and Loveness, any recommendation on how to cope with so many different tasks?
Yes. The good part, I think I'll hand over to Loveness on this one. I used to be an IT engineer, so someone would say, just because you have got a tech background, it was easier for you to then change towards digital and having these digital skills. But I want you to get a testimonial from Loveness, who was an accountant, from an accountant to a digital marketer who is now creating websites and other systems. I think she will be in a position to really explain how easy it is or how difficult it is to make that transition. So over to you, Loveness.
Thank you so much for the comments. They are so real and so relevant. So because I wanted to get into the digital space, I had to self-teach. It took me a lot of time because most of the information that I needed was being paid for. It was way above my income or financial ability. So when you talk about having to know all these things as a small business and the transition, like the graphics design, the finance element and all that, I totally understand that. What it meant for me, because in our country we don't have financing where you can say, okay, fine, I've got my business. You go to the bank and the bank will say, okay, fine, you ask them to cover you for 6 months or whatever, whilst you're building the profitability and building the business so that you can pay back, because that's a natural way of building business, right? According to finance. But then when you don't have those resources, you may have to learn them, to upskill them, and to pace yourself, because sometimes want to bite a huge chunk of graphics design, and you want to go the expensive route instead of you starting off at a very basic level. Because of some of those things, I had to learn the graphics design, I had to learn the digital marketing, I had to learn web development, because of the frustrations that came when I want to do something and I can't design. I've got a strategy, I've got a digital strategy, but I don't have the skill to translate what the message into images or media that will communicate the message. So from that level of frustration, I was forced to upskill. But you can't upskill in everything. You can't know everything. You'll burn out. I think this is when you start thinking and considering hiring options. What are the options that you have? Interns, if they are an option, you take those options, or just getting an expert, getting virtual assistants to relieve that pressure. The things that frustrate you the most, the things that take up a lot of your time. Because if you're the business owner, you don't want to get stuck in the clerical stuff. Otherwise your business will not grow. You're letting money go down the drain, where you could have been strategizing and creating, going out there to network so that you can build your net worth. You won't have that opportunity. You won't have the opportunity to check the trends and what's going on, what affects your industry. You will be in the trenches. If you were to take my example, I would be the one to do the graphic design. From the graphic design, I do the web development. From the web development, I do the web management. And we haven't started talking about the finance. We haven't started talking about admin. We haven't started talking about onboarding clients. We haven't, it becomes too much. So I think we need to always take a step back, pace yourself. If you want to digitize certain processes, do it in stages. Automate this. When that is running, take on the next thing. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Loveness, for that. I think we also have to read Shalom's comment, where she was saying on the transition from physical to digital. Shalom is actually saying that was a great point, because during the lockdown, she connected to an Indian organization which was delivering lessons online. And in one session, she trained 900 students in financial literacy. Can you imagine such an impact? And most probably, if she was doing things physically, definitely she wouldn't reach out to 900 students. Imagine in one lesson. So this is how powerful this digitizing is all about, right? So so Curtis is saying you really do understand just using the word frustration. Yes, if you had to do everything alone, definitely.
I think that's why important to have all these communities, right?
Yes. So Chat is also talking about the metaverse. This is an area that we have to look into it, because if you look at the trends and how the metaverse retail is actually being advertised, the worth of it, I think at some point we have to adopt the metaverse. As long as we know that our customers are there, we have to embrace the virtual reality. The retailers are just going to move towards the metaverse. And when I was really studying this e-commerce thing in the metaverse, it will be like moving or walking into a shop, and seeing and feeling the product, but it's online. So definitely the early adopters are going to find value in it, and they're also going to make a lot of money in it. So when the world is moving, let's move with it. So if we need to be on the metaverse shop or retail platform, let's be there as well. So over to you, Loveness.
Right. And the one thing that has also changed is relationships. Previously, it used to be a bit spooky for you to collaborate, to speak, to network, to meet someone, that one special person online. But this is just to show you how much, like, if you go back to the initial points, to say tech and the digital space has not really invaded, but it has even affected the way we live, the way we work, and it has gone right into the biological elements as well, into, just think about also the social elements as well. When people were in lockdown, people were still meeting each other. People were having virtual dates. I know I have a friend, she met her current husband, a lovely, lovely couple, online on Facebook. And, it just shows you that from the most advanced, from the metaverse, right, into the most basic of human interactions, technology and the digital space is literally being integrated into our lifestyle. Right, can we move on to the next one? So whilst we're using these advanced examples for the business, one thing we should know, and I need to really emphasize on, is that your business can be contextualized and practical. You need to contextualize the metaverse. I like what Chadi said. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. That, what about the metaverse? You need to contextualize it. If you were an early adopter, would it work? How would you do it? Where would it apply? Is it for the local market? Is it for the global market? Do you have the resources? Do you have what you need for you to push it out like that? So the things to consider, number one, is your resources. What finances and devices do you have to transition, right? So we can say, okay, fine, I want to get there, but do you have the financial muscle? Do you have the financial capacity for you to have what you want to transition into? Look at your devices, consider your devices. At some point, I was training a school for the teachers, how they can transition into tech, into online learning. And they had recently purchased tablets for them to actually do those sessions, but they were not compatible. I mean, they had low specs. There was no way a teacher was even going to be able to send a full day's lesson in terms of video, in terms of media and things like that. There was just no way. So already you need to look at your resources, and yet the administration was insisting, send this much work, do this and do that. You need to consider your resources. Number two, what value are you adding by transitioning? Right? Don't just do it for the sake of it. Will the transition inconvenience your clients, or will it make it easier for them? Will it make your processes easy, or will it make them more difficult? And why I'm saying that is because you need to be intentional about what it is you're transitioning. What are you digitizing? Which processes are you digitizing? And if you also need to constantly be checking out, there was a client who decided to digitize, and it was so inconvenient. It was it was so frustrating for us to do what we were used to doing, because they had transitioned and they're like, you know what, for our payment processes, this is what we're going to do. We're now going to use a point of sale system, but their network was constantly down. There were issues with the power and they had no backup. So we've had cases where you go to a shop, people would come and they'll be told, look, we can't sell anything to you. The whole system is computerized. We've got no power and we've got no backup. So when you need to think about all those things, right? So let's move on to the next one. And then what can be digitized? I think I've already alluded to some of these things. Think about the processes, the payments, the customer relations. When you talk about even your customer database, do you have it? Is it in a book? Is it on paper? How can you then digitize it so that it goes online, it goes into the computer, so that it's easier to manipulate, it's easier to keep track, it's easier to access, and to just monitor. You will know, like using systems like your customer relations management software. You can actually say, okay, fine, we've got this client, this is a lead. We spoke to them, they said, you know what, let's check after 2 days, let's check after 3 days, or maybe they were just calling, want to then take them through our customer roadmap, and things like that. So look at also the finance procedures and accounting, the customer care, placing orders, your store, you can digitize it, right? Let's move on to the next thing. I hope my time is still good. So what do you do? What do you do? After we've said all these things, Diodati is saying, among the issues of transition for SMEs on reliable security of their data. Yes, and I think that's like something that we don't speak about often enough, because we've left cybersecurity and all that to the bigger organizations. Or maybe is it also an issue of affordability? Some of the services that especially security services, I don't know if someone else can confirm this, but some of them can end up on the high end for an SME to actually consider that. I remember this one lady said she'd actually gone and checked, and at some point she's like, you know what, I'm going to keep my security basic and hope that nothing happens. Because she said it was just way out of her league. So I don't know if you know more about securing data that is affordable, please don't hesitate to also make a contribution to Diodati. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. So now, what do you do? What's the next step? After all is said and done, we've said so many things have transitioned, and I hope that our case has been bought, that you are now convinced. If you were not convinced earlier on, or if you were convinced, we have reinforced the fact that we are transitioning. We are in the 4th industrial revolution, which is driven by technology, right? So the first thing is to study the market for your business and how to transition. You're doing it not only for your survival, but also for your market. Look at your market. If your primary market is in a rural area that does not have access to consistent electricity or access to the internet, then you need to consider how you're going to transition, right? That's just loosely put. And then let's look at number 2, develop a practical strategy of how you're going to achieve the strategy. Sorry for the spelling there. Put controls and monitoring in place so you interact with your audience and tweak the strategy accordingly. What practical thing can you put in place? And when I say practical, is for people to be realistic. Be realistic about the strategy. Look at when we even talk about resources, look at your team, will they be able to carry? It's one thing to come up with a good idea, think, oh, transitioning will be awesome, but your staff has no capacity to do that, right? And so you need to, once you've also put those controls and those systems in place, you constantly need to then interact with your audience and change what you can. Whilst we were struggling with the payment system and interacting with the employees who were also already frustrated, they would tell us, they would say, you know what, they were referring us to another competitor. You can go around the corner, you can do this. But one employee surprised me. She was like, you know what, there's nothing we can do. This is the system that we have. And it was, I went there 3 times. They had the same issues. And after that, I just stopped going. No, they were not listening to the audience. They were not listening to their clients. And that is very important when you're transitioning. Whilst you put in the processes and it's all done, it's all great, you need to constantly be checking and monitoring. It's not like I've done it and we've arrived kind of situation. Please move on to the next one. Right, and then have clear goals and the key performance indicators. What is it that, how are you going to know whether you've achieved success or not? And that's where the key performance indicators are. What are the indicators? What is it that you're going to be monitoring to know that, yes, we've done well? It's not just about adopting and putting in a new system or a new way of doing things, but how are we going to tell whether it's working for us or not? And then have clear goals. What do we want to achieve? We're doing this to increase sales. We're doing this to reduce the things that need to be done. We're doing this to reduce loss of information, the risk, to reduce the risk of information loss. I'll give you another example for this one. There is a bank had gone for a tech conference somewhere, and a bank was telling us that previously for them to process payments, there was one gentleman or the messenger within the organization who would move around with a file full of payments for them, for different signatories to sign. And sometimes they'd go to a signatory, the signatory is not there, and they would have to push that file paper by paper under the door of the signatory. Or sometimes they would say we would lose payments along the way, and they were difficult to track. At which point was this payment lost? And it was just this interesting situation. And what they then did to digitize is they introduced a digital way of approving payments, because this was also accelerated by COVID, where the signatories stayed far apart from each other. So the logistics of getting one payment done became a nightmare. You get to someone's house and they are not there. Who do you leave the payments with? So which means maybe you have to go back to work and you have to go back again. And it just didn't make sense anymore. So you need, okay, fine. We want to introduce a new way of working, a new way of approving payments, so that our goal is, 1, we have less loss of papers, and 2, the approval process is faster, and 3, we also reduce the risk of loss of confidential information, because remember, this was a bank. So they had clear goals. They had clear goals to say, okay, this is what we want to achieve. And once they started achieving that, even the workflow and the employees, they're saying that they were happy at the head office, right? So number 4, engage your current clients to get insight. Talk to your current clients. Don't, sometimes people will go and innovate and think of something amazing and not consult the people or the primary beneficiaries of that service, right? 5, get buy-in from the team and train them. Oh, I wish I could sing a song. And that would be the chorus. And this chorus would be like 10 minutes long, to say get buy-in from the team and train them when necessary. Upskilling may be needed, and also reassurance. Every time when we talk about adoption or digitizing, some people will have fear for their jobs, for their livelihoods. So get the buy-in from the team, do the vision casting. Look, this is what we want. And hence you need to have clear goals. This is what we want to achieve, communicate the benefits of having this done, and reassure them that they will still remain relevant. And where upskilling is required, you need to really go out and reassure them, train them, be patient, because when we're talking about digitizing, it's also a process. It's not a quick thing. It's not something that happens overnight. I'll give you an example. In one organization, it's a client, they were digitizing, and everybody, most of the team on the ground was super excited, super excited about the improvement. But the supervisor was so much against it. There was so much friction and, bottlenecks and all that. And when HR finally realized that, no, this person, it's not because the tech is too much for them. It's not because of anything else, but maybe the biggest concern that this person has, because they've been in the organization for about 15 years, is whether they will still have a job or not. And after interacting with that team member, most definitely, yes, things changed. The person was more forthcoming. They actually embraced the tech. They became a champion for change and actually innovated. So whilst we're talking about tech digitizing, let's not forget the human aspect, the upskilling, the buy-in from the team, just interacting as well. I think that is so important. You can have a brilliant system that you're rolling out, but if you don't have buy-in from the people who are going to operationalize it or implement it, then you'll have done nothing. You'll have wasted time, you'll have wasted your energy, and sometimes even the finances for you to actually get these things going. Number 6, you need to assess what you're doing offline that can be digitalized. So what are you doing offline? What are you doing? Are you still writing people down on a paper? How are you doing your accounting? Are you still just doing it in a book? Do you have endless files? And you have to struggle every time when you want to know what the current expenditure is versus maybe you want to see if there are any disparities, the budgeted amount and what you've spent so far. So whilst you can comply to local regulations in terms of document retention within your nation and all that stuff, which is very critical, by the way. It's also very important for you to digitalize processes like your accounting. Why? It just makes it easier for you to track. Imagine you need to make a quick decision whether you should make a purchase. There's an opportunity for you, and someone has to flip through pages for them to come up with a rough estimate of how much has been spent versus the budget versus what was committed, and then trying to do something quickly. But we do have software, we have process, amazing applications that will extract that information. The information that you'll be daily punching in will actually be automatically translated into a report that can easily be accessed. So you need to look at what you're doing offline, and is there an easier way of doing it online? And I'm seeing a message here. Oh, his name is Bernard. All right, sorry about that. So I've been addressing you using your surname. Chris, did you just...
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, so I was also calling Deodati instead of Bernard, sorry. So yeah, he had a question about digital marketing strategy. So what do SMEs need to develop a proper digital marketing strategy? Would they have to consider? I think it's a very broad question,
Yes.
I mean, we can give a very general answer. So I don't know, Bernard, you want to be a bit more specific, or you're thinking about a specific sector? Some struggle that you are having right now, and maybe we can help you with some ideas.
I think maybe also while he is giving us maybe a specific, whether it's for B2C or B2B, I think in just short, when you're formulating your digital marketing strategy, you need to take note of about 8 things that you have to be specific about. what are your goals and objectives? What do you really want to achieve in your business when you have moved from the offline to the digital? What exactly do you want to achieve? So your goals and objectives should be really specific. Then you also need to do what we call an industry and market analysis. With digital marketing and our businesses, we need to understand the industry that we are in. Is it a growing industry? Is it a maturing? Is it a declining industry? We need to be true to ourselves, because sometimes even if we want to go digital, if we're in an industry that is declining, chances are very high that even if you are going to go digital, you will fail. And if you are in a maturing or growing industry, what sort of tactics are you going to then implement after that? Then when we're talking about digital strategy, the market analysis is also very important that you do digitally. Look at your competitors, look at what they are doing, look at their market share, and all these are analytics that you do online. And then when you understand their market share and their strengths, etc., you know exactly where you stand. If you know your competitors' weaknesses, then you can ride on that with your own strengths and with all your own unique ways of doing things, so that at least you capture your own market share when you decide to go digital. Then the issue of target customers is something also that is incorporated in a digital marketing strategy. Who exactly do you want to target? Because you'll find that some of the customers that you were targeting physically, their behaviors, their purchasing patterns physically, they will be different from the customers that you're going to see online. So knowing your target customers and understanding their purchasing patterns, their demographics, their needs, and whether you and your product satisfy their needs, that is something that you need to go into detail. Talk about your brand, write down in your digital marketing strategy the brand story that you want to project out. How were you telling your story physically, and how are you going to tell it digitally? Then from there, if you understand all these, you can come up with then the digital marketing strategies and tactics for your digital space, and you implement it. And like I said, like Loveness said later on, sometimes implementation of these strategies, these digital strategies can be frustrating if you are a one-man band. You need to know who is going to help you. Are you going to do it in-house? If you don't have the skills in-house, are you going to have a consultant coming in to help you? And from there, you need to do some evaluations and monitoring just to see whether your digital marketing strategy and tactics are working after implementation. And where there is no specific results that you would say, I'm happy about, you can go back and tweak until you get a working strategy. And like what Chris has said, this is a very broad topic, which we can actually propose at some point. If we get time, we can come and talk about strategy only, because it's really broad.
But I think you did a very good job saying, these tips. I think we can summarize later them also in the platform. It's very hard to answer to this generic question, no? But I think, thanks a lot, Tofara.
And is actually suggesting that we make a WhatsApp group that we share tips and tricks concerning digital marketing on a weekly basis. Thank you so much. We actually have a Telegram group, and I have seen that sometimes it's active, sometimes it's not. So maybe we can have both Telegram and WhatsApp. I think Chris can help us coordinate this.
Yeah,
and,
it's a good idea.
Yes, the digital marketing hub on Ecom Connect. I know sometimes we were so relaxed when it comes to posting content, but we are going to be posting more tips on the digital marketing hub on Ecom Connect as well. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
So are there, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let me finish off on number 7, then I will take over on number.
Great. I was like, oh, I hope she's taking over. I'm just joking, right? So number 7, we necessarily engage an expert. With this one as well, we need to, whilst it's good to know everything, do everything, where we fall short, let's engage experts. Why? Because you want to make sure you get it right. You want to make sure that you lock the value of the investment that you're making. If you're a small business, you're already taking out funds where sometimes they're not there in abundance, and you're like, going out on a limb to do this process. And if you don't get someone who actually say, okay, fine, this is the best way to do it. What are your resources? Okay, tell me what your budget is. And I don't know, Tofara, I think you can confirm the question about the budget. What is your budget?
Mm-hmm.
That one is a very important question that you should answer. Confirm.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Because sometimes what happens with these options that are there, it's almost like if you want to get married and you want a centerpiece for your tables, and I mean, I know that is just an example, but it's the most one that maybe all of us can kind of like relate to. You want a centerpiece, or even chairs. You have the 50-cent chair. That's the basic chair. Will you get married sitting on that chair? Will you have a wedding reception with that chair? Yes, you will. But there's another more luxurious chair, transparent, beautiful, and everything. And that one costs $10, per chair, or $25 per chair. Same thing with the centerpiece. You can have an ordinary basic centerpiece, or you can have this amazing flower arrangement that looks like it's going to speak to your guests, and that one can cost maybe $350 per table. And so there are varying softwares, options, tools that can be offered when we talk about digitizing. And so it's important for you to be clear. How much can I spend on this? How much can I put on this? And be open with the expert that you're going to say, look, for this one, I've got $100. Can I get something with the $100? Can I get something with the $500? What can I do? Or what can you do for me with what I have? But sometimes we go there as small business owners, we don't even have a budget. And, we have to scratch our heads. I'm doing a bit of some advocacy here. We have to scratch our heads to say, oh, okay, so should I just send everything? Should I send something in the middle? What do I do? So we send you something, you're like, oh, that's too expensive, or something like that. But it's really important for you to have at least a rough figure that if you go back to the drawing board, how much would make sense for you to spend on such a process, right? And so when necessary, engage the expert to help you to set up so that you are clear about the financial needs, the processes, and how to maximize the digitalization. We can't even overemphasize that importance. You don't want to lose your resources to a system that will not service you or your clients. So Bernard is saying, thanks, Chris, Loveness, Tofara, and all. I really appreciate this. Appreciate for this. Please, if there is a WhatsApp or Telegram group, maybe add. Oh, okay. So we'll be able to share all that information. Oh, okay. You're leaving us, Bernard. We're going to miss you. All the best with your meeting, right? Okay, we'll try and take note of your number right there. Okay, thank you so much. And over to you, Tofara.
Thank you. So number 8, definitely we need to streamline processes and optimize. And the steps that I'm going to share with you is to just help us on how we can move from offline. It's very important that we analyze our current workflow that we have physically. Then also when you analyze them, you have to break down the process, so that at least when you then move over to digitizing or digitalizing, you need to, you know exactly what needs to be digitalized. And I think I can give simple example. If you had, if you didn't have an accounting package, maybe someone was paying physically and you had a physical receipt book, and once the payment was received, it was recorded manually, etc. So now you can break down the processes that you have seen in the physical space, and then from there take note, okay, I want to digitize the accounting side of my business. And once you take note of what needs to be done, you then document it. And after documentation, you automate the processes. So maximize free and paid software to make this happen. And I think if you are to Google right now, if you're looking for accounting packages, they're there. If you want to have an e-commerce shop, a lot of people are using Shopify. If you want to have, an accounting package, recently I saw a platform called Odoo, ODWOOM.com. So it is actually more like an ERP, which is used by SMEs. It's very cheap in terms of their monthly fees, and people are using it for customer relationship management, for accounting, for human resource management, etc. So you'll find that the moment you go online and Google on the how to automate your processes, there's so many things that are there. Then after that, you have to create a new workflow of how things are going to work when it comes to the digitalized way. Then from there, test the workflow. Is it working? Are people going to utilize the platform correctly and without any problems? Then implement it and refine as you go. And also listen to your clients, so that at least when there are errors, these clients can actually, point out. Thank you, Loveness, for the link. So your clients can actually give you areas where you need to improve. Then number 9, pace yourself. When you're moving from the physical way of doing things or the offline to the digital, it is a process. Do what works for you in terms of capacity and resources. And sometimes you don't need to stretch yourself and say the next person has an online shop, I now have to have an online shop that is well automated, etc. I usually give the people that I train examples to say, if you are in Zimbabwe, in as much as you would want an e-commerce website for people to purchase, around Zimbabwe and all, sometimes the automation will be very, very difficult because your target customers won't be having even Visa cards, for example. So most probably they'll want to pay using the mobile money, and from there, you know how to send their products to where they are. So sometimes you need to understand the capacity, what works for your customers, what works for you, and the current investment that you would want to, put into that. Loveness spoke about the budgets. Sometimes if you really want a working system, you really need to invest in people who have the skills to make life easier for you. So pace yourself, don't rush, but just make sure that you follow the process bit by bit. It can take you 6 months to a year to have a fully automated, digitized business that really works for you and your customers. So I'm just going to open the floor. I'm not sure, Chris, are we going to the breakout rooms, or we can have the questions here?
We can have the questions here if you want.
Yeah, I think that's the best.
Yeah.
Not so many. So yeah, if we do have any questions, the good part is some of the questions were coming through as we were presenting, but we wouldn't want to leave anyone hanging. If you feel that you have an area where you need assistance when it comes to the transitioning from offline to online, we are here to answer your questions. So Loveness, do you have anything else to say while people are still thinking of their questions?
Well, at this point in time, no, I don't have anything to say. Maybe just to encourage people, let's use Ecom Connect, the community, for us to interact and, have knowledge sharing, exchange of ideas, and things like that. It's an amazing platform for us to interact and get to know each other. I noticed that there's someone here from Tanzania. They already put in their company, and I was really keen to know what they're doing. Are the opportunities for networking, collaboration, etc. So just from the number of countries that are here, we could easily work together. We could easily come up with solutions that will benefit us as small businesses, as opposed to waiting for someone else to come up with the solution. So one of the things that I will encourage us to do is to let's connect. If it's on WhatsApp, let's connect on WhatsApp. And be professional, have integrity. I like the comment about, that Bernard had put there to say, since there are no set regulations for quality standards, we need to know. So, so let's interact more outside this event, so that we can come up with solutions that work for us, that we've created for us, and share knowledge that will benefit our businesses.
Yeah, I think that would be very nice, is to, start sharing some struggles that you have, or ideas or solutions. Like, for example, this Odoo website, it's a great platform to manage an e-commerce store, and things like that we can all share and learn from each other. So
yeah.
Any questions there?
Hi,
Preeti?
I'm Preeti.
Hey, Preeti.
Yeah, it's been really helpful, whatever tips we have been getting. I have just one request, since I have been actively participating in your events physically too, by ITC. So if we could have, a dashboard or like a status that we can put, if somebody is looking for any commodity, and we can respond something like an RFP, so that we can trade online, it'll be helpful.
So you're looking for like like a, let's say, kind of marketplace?
I'm sure that
Yes, I mean, it could be a simple, just posting, requirements, like
Okay.
how we post jobs. So that way we could connect directly, because otherwise, during chats, the messages may get lost and we may disconnect. So if you could have on the platform, we could post in a common page that this is the requirement, like Facebook. So if any suppliers are there, they could directly get in touch with those people.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, now at the moment, what we have is under Connect, under the tab Connect, you have the collaborations, and there, like, you can post whatever you want. For example, if you're looking to something specific, then people can connect with you there. But I guess you're looking for something also a bit more like a forum as well, or?
Yeah, something like, yes. So if it could be like a open thing, because we hardly go into that page to check out and send emails personally. So if there's something like a status, then people could check out what is required. So then people can connect directly and interact. Yeah, I mean, it could be like a global marketplace. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, great suggestion. Thanks so much. I mean, so far we have the collaborations page, so that's good. And I think you can take advantage of it and maybe publish something later tonight, and test how it goes. Also, thank you, Preeti. And thanks for attending. Now you're now in all our events. We have to give you a badge.
Thank you.
And Curtis has also another question. Sorry, Tofara, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think Loveness can tackle the website, because she is a website developer, and she can actually give the best advice on that question.
Okay, Curtis is asking, what are the best options for a small business to acquire a commercial website. So the first things first, I'm always emphasizing people to go to the drawing board and say, this is what I can afford, right? So there are now so many options. Even Google has Google sites. We also have a site called Canva. It's now doing sites as well. Though you won't have your customized domain name, but as long as you are found online, I think it's important for you to start where you are and grow as a small business. Let that free website pay for you to grow online as well. Because if we say, if I talk about using, WordPress and getting a personalized domain name, it comes with a hosting hosting costs, monthly hosting costs. You need to think about the web management from the back end to make sure that your site is always up to date. It has no bugs, it has no security issues. So in terms of the best options for a small business to acquire a commercial site, I would say the first things first is to look at your budget, and also consider even the free options as a startup, because if we try and say go for the big guns, you may not be able to push that. So with the nice thing about a commercial website is that my assumption is the strongest push is for you to generate income. It has to generate income, and we should be able to track to say, okay, fine, how much revenue does this website generate for us? And it means that, there are certain things that go beyond just acquiring the website that are critical. Things like your analytics, having analytics embedded into the website so that you can track who's getting in touch, who are your visitors, where are they coming from, what are their demographics, which device are they using, at which time are they getting in touch with you, and all those critical things that also feed into your digital strategy, so that you're not like literally shooting in the dark. You perfect your strategy, and you know who you're talking to. And where you get a surprise, where someone, like for an example, there's a client who does interior decor. So her primary, according to her and her research and her perception, she had put up that website thinking women would be the highest visitors. And guess what? It was the men who were buying and actually interacting with the website more. And the question was, is it because she had not put her messaging right or her targeting right, or there is an opportunity, a market that she's not tapping into? So whilst we can talk about a website, in essence, just having one, what I would also like to really emphasize to people is to go beyond just acquiring the website, but use it as a tool, optimize that website so that you get value from it. What are you selling on that website, and what processes are there? If you can't do the typical processes of payment, at least collect orders and make it clear that this site is for collection of orders. Please note that we need a lead time of 14 days for us to process that order. And there's a lady who does these amazing hats for weddings, for special occasions, and her lead time is 14 working days. Before you place an order, you need to do 14 working days. And she uses wordpress.com, a free option, but she is still getting, she's based in New York, but she still gets the clients. She's scaling up her business and she's offering the value. So you do have options. Consider your budget, look at your resources. You can grow from any type of website, and you can maximize your website by putting in tools and features, things like communities, things like a blog, so that you can maximize and create visibility online using search engine optimization and content marketing. And you know what? Contrary to many beliefs, people will find you. People will find you. Recently, I'll give you another example. Recently, this is a personal example though. There's an organization that I've always admired. I think they are like maybe 5 years old. They're into personal development and they have these amazing programs. Health-wise, they're into transformational learning that affects your life. And I was like, oh my goodness, they are amazing. And one day I open up my email and this person is reaching out to me and saying, you know what, we went through your website, we love it, and what you're sharing there, we believe is aligned to our beliefs. Can we offer you a premium affiliate option? And with that premium affiliate option, I have access to all their courses and I get the opportunity of also earning from that. So I think the way you build your website and what tools and the content that you put in there is very important. You can even use a free site or these website builders, and you are a subdomain, but you're creating quality content that will create the visibility for you. So I hope I haven't over labored and I've answered your question, Curtis.
No,
Or
not
is it
at all.
Edwards? Please talk to me, Edwards. Is it Curtis or Edwards? Please speak to me. Tell me if that was sufficient.
Oh, I was just typing. You surely did answer. Did you hear me?
Yes, I did. I
You surely
I
did
answered.
answer.
Awesome.
I was
Please
sitting here and I was sitting here and I was wondering, who gave you that name?
Loveness.
Yes. No, you were really.
Parents, they were full of
Okay.
love.
When you go home, you better give them a big hug.
I'm gonna give them a hug.
No, really and
Thank
truly,
you for
you
that.
gave me a lot of ammunition to go on, because at this point I already bought my domain, and the problem is to get someone to build it and to build it the way how I want it, and the cost factor as a small business. So that is where I am right now. So I thank you for that information.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think if you already have the domain name and you can afford your monthly costs for you to have that website running, by all means, go ahead. I would advise you to really pack that website, make it pay, make it generate income. We can't talk about figures here, but your website can more than 100x your investment and the cost. It's one of those tools that it has a low cost, but the potential amount of financial gain that you can get, it's a digital asset. A website is a digital asset. You can generate thousands per month from your website if you do it right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I think I'll hand over to Chris at this moment.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for the great session, and especially all the answers to your questions, because I think they're very rich in content, very helpful. So we're going to close the session. There's just a little poll I want to launch for our participants. And before closing, just to let you know that we are going to have a second session on website optimization in September, and then the last one in October on creating content that sells. So we'd like to see you there, and we appreciate that you had the time to join us today. And of course, join Ecom Connect to get access to the Telegram group. We can post the link again on the live feed, but also the digital marketing group that Tofara and Loveness are managing in the platform, and it focuses, as its name says, on digital marketing. So you can go there and meet people who are into the topic, ask your questions, answer any other doubt that anyone else has, and we will also upload later today the recording, so that you can share it and watch it again. Okay, so thanks a lot to Farah and Loveness for your time. And thanks everyone here.
I think I closed the poll.
No, no worries. Yeah, did you? Yeah.
Stop eating something.
Okay, no worries. I think relaunch. Yeah. Okay, I relaunched it. If you can fill it in, it will take 20 seconds.
Yeah.
No worries. I think you were going to try to fill it in.